This is a post I have some issue with. The person, a lab manager, is tangentially correct about DNA and glyphosate being in two different acid groups and has used it as play on words to discredit the petition, the scientist and/or the petitioner while completely sidestepping the main issue. To boot, he assumes an air of arrogance, passing judgment on others' ability or qualification. He calls the petition a huge joke, but fails to address its main focus, which is to do with hiding safety data on glyphosate from the public and if that is legal. Glyphosate doesn't get into the DNA per se, a point picked up by the lab assistant to make a story out of, but it is ordered by RNA, also a nucleic acid, as glycine in the construct of proteins. Glyphosate is a synthetic amino acid analog of glycine that misincorporates into oligometric peptide formation, forming a peptide. The molecule becomes destructive of cells because of its methyl phosphonate side chain. This is how the cells of the organs and glands were destroyed in Monsanto's own studies, as noted by scientist Anthony Samsel. Further, DNA contains only 4 bases, A, G, C, and T. The T, which is thymine, is replaced in RNA by uracil. The glyphosate mimicking glycine does not have to get directly into DNA to cause major problems with protein synthesis, but being around DNA and RNA will cause major problems in health through creation of damaged or malfunctioning proteins. It is incorrect to say nucleic acids or DNA have nothing at all to do with glyphosate. Roundup Ready technology itself was made by tinkering with genetic codes to make glyphosate tolerance possible in the first place. DNA was tampered with in order to make it glyphosate tolerant. Further, it causes an increased rate of mutation in DNA because it, that is glyphosate, gets into the very protein that is involved in fixing those DNA copy errors. Thus, glyphosate can almost certainly trigger epigenetic changes in a person exposed. Epigenetic plays an enormous role in genetics, and although the epigenetic change is not made with changes of the A, G, and C and T molecules, its duration is sometimes very brief and sometimes very long, spreading over many generations with all possible intermediates. Most of all this is very common knowledge and within grasp of even a 10-year-old child with inquisitive mind and access to Google search engine. So, to say that DNA is a nucleic acid and glyphosate is an amino acid and therefore the two have nothing at all to do with each other, just like that infamous statement so long ago, East is East and West is West and the twain shall never meet, etc., 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 is a statement from a lab assistant that bolsters the age-old saying, little knowledge is a dangerous thing. A lab assistant should stay in the lab. Since his bread is buttered on the side of the biotech industry, he will be excused for dancing to their tune. But we who are trying to preserve our food security are less than impressed by this cocky arrogance and little knowledge. To reiterate, this petition is about if Canadians have a right to see the safety data on glyphosate, so the data can be verified by independent scientists separate from industry supporters such as ill-educated lab assistants with skewered take on science who might not know what citizens' rights are on glyphosate safety even if a can of Roundup hits them in their ass.